issue speech on welfare reform and then some of the opposing views. According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the U.S. Department of Commerce, verified on October 15, 2012, 4.3 million Americans are on welfare, 5.6 million Americans receive unemployment, and the total amount that the U.S. government spends on welfare, not including food stamps or unemployment, is $131.9 billion. That statistics represents many Americans who should not be receiving government assistance for many reasons. One of the reasons is that they use their benefits for personal gain. They might sell their benefits to another individual for money, for drugs, things like that. Another reason is that they use drugs. They shouldn't be on welfare if they can't hold a job because they're on drugs. They do not financially qualify for the benefits they're receiving sometimes. It's pretty easy to lie about your finances on your application for welfare, and the government doesn't really usually check in to make sure you're telling the truth. According to the article The History of Welfare on the website welfareinfo.org, welfare includes various programs that assist under or unemployed people. Some programs include Medicaid, Women, Infants, and Children, the WIC program, and food stamps. In the same article, welfare began in the 1800s when the colonies imported the British Poor Laws. These laws gave citizens who were unable to work because of age or physical condition cash or other forms of assistance, and the laws gave people who were unemployed but they were physically able to work, they gave them an opportunity to work in public service jobs. I have consulted many sources and done a lot of research about this topic and about the United States welfare programs, so that's how I know about this topic. My argument in this speech is this: the current welfare system in the United States is being abused by many people because laws are not strict enough, and I really want to protect the programs from being abused so they don't get too overused and have to be canceled. Today I'm going to explain how welfare programs in the United States are abused and ways to prevent the abuse, and then I'm also going to explain that there needs to be mandatory drug tests to the people receiving welfare benefits. There needs to be monthly job searches by people who receive certain welfare benefits, and then I'm also going to talk about how there needs to be a certain amount of time that people stay on welfare, and then I'll go into how some people believe that welfare is not being abused, which is an opposing viewpoint. First, let's talk about why people should be drug tested in order to keep and qualify for welfare. Random drug tests throughout the year would benefit both the person on welfare and the welfare system. People on welfare who are also on drugs could potentially help themselves. These people are often physically able to help themselves, but they can't mentally because they're on drugs, so they can't make it to work on time, and that's their own fault, so they shouldn't be able to receive government benefits. Mandatory drug tests would also help encourage people to quit drugs or risk losing their benefits, which sometimes their benefits might be more important to them than the drugs. Many people who use drugs use their welfare benefits for personal gain and not for the purpose that they were intended for. According to the article Welfare Programs Should Include Mandatory Drug Testing on the website Gale Opposing Viewpoints and Context, Renee writes that growing up, her mother was a recipient who abused the welfare system. She remembers having no heat or electricity and being so hungry it was painful. She, her mother, would trade her food stamp card for various things like cash, cigarettes, and an occasional joint. And that's just one example of how the welfare system was abused. People who are on drugs already have moral issues, so selling their welfare benefits to support their habits would not concern them. They might go ahead and take their food stamp card and sell it for less money so that they can buy drugs with that instead of, feeding their children and feeding themselves. In the article, food stamps have contributed to an overly dependent underclass. P.J. Buchanan states, consider New York City, where 1.7 million people, 1 in every 5 in the city, relies on food stamps for daily sustenance. Obesity rates have soared. 40% of all kids in city public schools from kindergarten through 8th grade are overweight or obese. Among poor kids whose family depend on food stamps, the percentages are far higher. Mothers of poor kids use food stamps to buy sugar-heavy soda pop, candy, and junk food. Instead of using food stamps to give children a better nutritional lifestyle, some parents don't really care what their child eats, so they just buy food that sounds good to them, and it's often nutritionally void and not good for them. That's one way to weed out some of the welfare abusers. And what's another way? The next way to decrease welfare abuse is to give welfare receivers a time limit that they can be on benefits before they're decreased or discontinued. This would motivate people to look for ways to support themselves while receiving welfare. If people are motivated to find a job, then they'll find one quicker and they won't need welfare anymore. So that would be good. If people are busy looking for a job, then they're not considered being lazy, just sitting at home reaping the benefits, because they're actually trying to better themselves. This would also reduce the amount of money that taxpayers and the government is spending on welfare. People who have a time limit will be removed before the new people are added, so there's not a continuous pool of people that are being added to the system. Some people are getting out and finding a job while others are coming in, so it's not a bigger tax burden. It's, the same. Let's see. The last method of decreasing welfare abuse in the United States is to make job searches routine and to follow up on job offers. State workers, it's important for people on welfare to search for a job. State workers should monitor people who are able to work to make sure that they are trying to get a job if they don't have one. People should fill out applications regularly and have to check on them all the time. And they'll also need to check with the state every month to prove that they're actually applying for jobs and following up on any job offers that are actually offered to them. Some people may still try to take advantage of this by applying to places that aren't actually hiring and then saying that they tried to find a job. That's why, to avoid this problem, state caseworkers should randomly select people to follow up on by calling the places that they so-called applied to and seeing if they're actually hiring or if they weren't. Okay, and then I'm supposed to show you this chart to show you that currently, currently 70.3% of people on welfare are not required to work, which is interesting. Just shows that a lot of people are lazy. Some people actually can't work, and that's okay. Okay. In the article, Maximize Self-Sufficiency Through Work and Additional Constructive Activities, the White House Secretary states that evidence suggests that almost 1 million of the 1.6 million adults presently on TANF, which is a welfare program, are not engaged in any activity leading towards self-sufficiency. That just shows that these people just plan to keep receiving benefits and not actually find a job or work. If people are unable to find work, if people are unable to find work and they are physically able to, after a certain amount of time, they should be recruited by the state to do public service jobs. I think it's important that they work for their benefits, even if they're not actually making an hourly wage. They should be required to work, at the public library or somewhere. There's no such thing as a free lunch. So, the 1996 welfare reform laws were established to prevent people from abusing the system. The laws did include a time limit to find a job. However, I do believe that people still take advantage of this because they lie, and the government doesn't always check up on them. So ways to prevent this is if the government really, cracks down and actually makes sure that people are applying and trying to find a job effectively. The laws did include a time limit to find a job, like I said, but people are finding ways to get around it. Welfare programs are a great way to help the needy. They just need to be monitored well. Now I will discuss why some people believe that welfare programs are being run well the way they are. Some people believe that people who were previously on welfare have a better quality of life now than when once they are off of welfare. In the article, Welfare Reform Has Helped People Out of Poverty, and Tanner states, most of those who left welfare found work, and of them, vast majority work full-time. So he's saying that since they were on welfare and they got off, they had a better quality of life finding a job. And then in the same article, he says that poverty rates have remained lower than before welfare reform was enacted. That's another reason why. And then welfare abuse needs to be reported if witnessed so the system can be changed. A lot of the problem is people will see other people abusing welfare programs, but then they won't go report it, and then they want to complain, but nothing will be done unless people actually report the abuse going on. So let's go over some of the points that I want you to remember today. Today I discussed with you why our current welfare programs need stricter laws. I believe the government has good intention with welfare programs. However, I also believe that people are taking advantage of them, and they will continue to find more ways and more loopholes the way there currently are. The ways to help improve the welfare system includes making random drug tests, time limits to receive the benefits, and required job searches that are monitored by the state. And then I also talked to you about some of the opposing viewpoints that welfare programs are being run well right now. Welfare programs must be changed to have stricter laws so that people are not able to abuse them. Take action today by signing a petition addressed to our Indiana governmental representatives to have welfare laws changed in Indiana. Tell your friends and family about the cause, and they can sign the petition too. Thank you for your time.